George Bruno with the 21 Report, the European edition. We're in Warsaw, Poland, having a conversation with Alexander Cortes. Welcome.
How you doing, George?
Good, good. Wow, what a speech.
It seemed to go over well.
It was, you just get better and better and better. And just when I think that you've knocked it out of the park, you just keep hitting that ball further and further and further. What did you call your speech? Was there a title to it?
Yeah, the title was the Ascendant Man. So the idea behind the title was, the spear of men, the male spear, whatever you want to call it. It's gone through these iterations for the last sort of decade and a half, and I think we're finally at a stage now, sort of this liminal stage, where men, it's no longer just about sex. It's no longer just about trying to navigate the sexual marketplace. It's okay. We've laid out these certain skills, these certain principles, these certain truths. Let's incorporate into being a whole being. And man is supposed to be ascendant, and we're supposed to give ourselves a standard to follow, and we are inspired and led by ideals. Yeah, and that's what makes men men. That's why we look up to other men. That's why women look up to men. That is what really society constructs itself around. That we will evolve that way. And so, I was hoping with obviously the talk I gave, speech we're going to call it, that I could sort of incorporate all those elements into something that was cohesive.
Yeah. You did it quite well, and I wrote down some notes, and I will just quote some of those, and those will be a good springboard to talk. Be her man, not her child. Wow. How is that relevant to men today?
Oh, it's relevant in that I try to find sort of the best axioms I could, but we live in a very infantilized society. Life is comfortable. We have a very low level of challenge on a day-to-day basis for most men, and that carries over into our relationships. And I said this in a few different ways, but men, whether consciously or unconsciously, they look for women who don't provide them any kind of challenge. They look for women who essentially will just take care of them the way a woman would to a child. Yeah, and that's their idea of sort of a good, stress-free relationship. And they're not ascendant that way. Women like to be with men they can look up to, that inspire them, that they can test him and he sort of passes the test. Mm-hmm. Men that want to be in relationships that are just pure ease and nothing else, where she's sort of like a domestic accessory. That's
domestic accessory.
That's
wow.
That's like the 1950s delusion of the good little housewife. That's never really existed.
Yeah.
That never really existed even during that time period. So the aspiration to that is a very false thing to desire. Mm-hmm. And once I could see in the crowd, once I said that, be her man, not her child, it's like one of those light bulb moments, and you see in people's eyes, they see the men's eyes, oh wow, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because we all know men like that. Or maybe someone has been that man, and he realized sort of the folly of his ways.
That's when I pulled the pen out and I knew I had to start writing things down, because that really sparked something in me. Don't put her on a pedestal, but put her above other women.
Mm-hmm. So that was one where, this is, I call sort of the ghettotization stuff of the bottom of the male spear, where there's always that often side quote, don't put women on the pedestal, don't put the pussy on the pedestal. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. We can mutually agree to that. You don't want to put yourself into the inferior position. Yeah, but relative to having, let's say, romantic, let's say, dare I say, monogamous relationship, you actually want to be with somebody, which, being a male-female pair bond relationship, that's sort of, the standard that most societies build themselves on, certainly Western society. Okay, well, how do you make a woman feel like, you are irreplaceable to her and she's irreplaceable to you? She has to feel special. Mm. Yeah, that's a classical model of, even, for men, my mom made me feel like, the most handsome man in the world, or a little girl, she was daddy's princess and she was beautiful and he was there for her and she looked up to him and what a man he was. And people want to feel special, we want to feel valued that way. If someone is made to feel replaceable, they have no incentive to value you. They have to have some sensibility, some hopefully concrete sensibility, that you really value them, that you mean something to them, or they mean something to you that is exceptional. So I phrased it that way where, you can, have a situation where maybe you date a lot of women, you meet one woman. Women know when a man is in a position of sexual abundance, or you want to call it, where he has options. But women, they have their own romantic sort of fantasy where they want to stand out above other women. And if it's an ascendant man where he's picking me, he's choosing me, I'm the one that stands above all the others, yeah, they're going to feel special. And that's okay to make a woman feel that way. There's a level of romanticism with that. What is romanticism? It's intimacy. We're doing things, we're being vulnerable, we're having moments with people that we would never ordinarily have otherwise. And God knows how many songs, books, psalms, art has been created out of that. Romanticism is sort of what drives really human aspiration on a certain level. If you have no sense of romanticism, you have no sense of really wanting to live in the future at all. It's a very bleak world otherwise.
The Ascended Man, it sounds like it's going to be an ebook or something.
That's kind of the idea.
And then eventually, put out a bunch of entries over a year and then compile them at the end of the year, and you have a bestseller.
The idea is hopefully in 1-2 years from now, it's something like an actual complete book, and it gives a continuum, which I try to give in the whole speech, going from very primordial to civilized.
Yeah.
If I can, if you can provide men a sort of continuum of here's how to think about it, here are the values, virtues, principles you need to practice, and then here is how it develops in these different areas, respective to your ability to earn, provide, protect your status to woman. You'd have something that gives you some sort of paternal guidance, which I think that's the thing that's most lacking in modern society. We have no good men that are paternal, that are fathers that we can really look to as functional role models. Either because we weren't raised with that, or we have no sense of ideal we're going to be led by something that's perfect. It's very easy to be misled by men where they have their own private agendas, they have their pains, they have their things that they've had to deal with. And men are role models for certain qualities.
Yes.
But if you want to push yourself to a higher level, you don't model yourself on other men. You model yourself, whether you want to call it God or whether you want to call it ideals, you model yourself on a standard that you will never, ever, ever reach.
Yes.
But that gives you infinite capacity to improve and evolve. You don't want to be hitting a threshold and then, well, I guess I hit the bar. The bar is always above you.
Mm. Well, you just triggered something. You said the word infinite. Men, be replaceable, incomparable, and infinite.
Irreplaceable, incomparable, and infinite, yes.
How can a man make himself irreplaceable?
You have to make yourself exceptional. So then you have to objectively look at yourself, and no man is going to be exceptional in areas, but what are the areas that you can be exceptional in? It's really that question of what's the best version of myself that I continuously evolve into? Women don't like men that are specialized that way. They like men who are interesting. They like men who he stands apart because he's not like other guys. That's a very basic thing that goes back to adolescent, high school. That's the male athlete. That's the guy that's the artist. That's the guy that's really successful. And that's not to say that you only develop yourself, well, it's about making money. No, it's about all the elements. Mm-hmm. If you can do all the things and you can be so interesting and so compelling, and be a man of imagination that way, where she's going to think and feel things that she's not going to feel with anybody else at all. You're not going to be replaced by anybody. And women like to attach themselves to men like that. That's where you get a really strong bond. If you're disposable, replaceable, average, boring, predictable, easy to figure out, you'll still get relationships, but you're never going to be that guy that you could be.
The ultimate insult I can see coming from this, and that would be I could just see someone saying, "You are so replaceable." I mean, that's the ultimate insult. The ultimate is, you're easily replaced.
Yeah.
And it's like insulting somebody without cursing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's denying that's like the denial of a person's, denying someone attention.
Yeah.
You're not going to pay attention to me, you're not worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
There's nothing about you that is worth even directing my sight at.
And on the flip side, the ultimate compliment is you're irreplaceable.
Mm-hmm. I'm never going to find another one like you. Yeah, and again, that's an ideal, but the closer you get to that, the more you become that.
Yeah. But that's keeping the bar always above you, like you said. Mm-hmm. Always. So you're always trying. She looks up to you or down to you.
It's one or the other. That's something I realized, years ago. I probably was in high school and I realized that, where I could just, it was just a differentiation where there were those guys that this girls, they looked up to them, either because they're athletic or maybe they're like the geeky guy in the class. Geeky girls like geeky guys. Mm-hmm. Women like smart men. Mm-hmm. So women always look to men that have certain qualities that, it's usually the quality the woman has as well, but they look to a man with quality like, oh wow, he's just at such a level. He's a man of wax that way.
Yes.
So you'd be Shakespearean with it. And they always look up to that, like they want that, because it gives them both something to assess themselves against, and it pushes them a bit, and they can challenge and test it, and it's proven. That's inspiring that way. Like again, it goes back to being ascendant. We like men that inspire us. Women love men that are inspirational, that see things, do things that no other man can do.
Mm-hmm.
So a woman looks up to you, or vice versa, she looks down at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and women use men as much more than men use women. Women know how to manipulate, and women know when they're smarter than the man. They know when they can take advantage of him. They know when he is made to be used and abused. They know that, and they can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe the better angels of their nature, they're like, I'm not going to mess with that guy. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do take advantage of men. Women do that all the time, of course. The same way men do. How do you sort of separate yourself, from that, unfortunate game? You got to be exceptional. You have to be somebody that both men and women can look up to. And I said that sort of in the speech as well, that the ultimate game hack for men, for female attraction, it's not trying to attract women. It's men following you.
Yeah.
Because then you automatically select yourself. You're already at the top of the pyramid. Oh,
yeah.
Wow, that guy has thousands of men that look up to him and follow him and listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
He's a man amongst men. Now you're the alpha now.
Yeah.
You're that A.
Yeah.
And you're at the top of the pyramid. And it had nothing to do with trying to get girls.
Yeah.
You were being a man amongst men.
Mm-hmm.
And now you were the man like no other man.
The ultimate hack.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting. Why did the beauty go with the beast? He had a library. I've never heard anyone say that. That's brilliant. Because everyone's thinking Ferrari, Lamborghini. He had a library. What does the library represent?
He's a man of mind. He had imagination. I mean, it's a love story. It's idolized. You can always say, it's fantasy, whatever derogatories you want to use. But it is an ultimate female fantasy because with the beast, she got a man where he both developed the capacity to love. He was a very intelligent man. He was a man of means. He was a primal man. He was dominating, but he knew how to be soft with her. So she got all the things that sort of women fantasize about, like within one man. And then he transforms himself into even more of a man for her at the very end. What was her rejection of Gaston? Gaston was an idiot. He's buff and chiseled, chest hair, and every woman wants him, but because he makes himself inferior to Belle, and because Belle is smarter than him and she knows it, she doesn't want him. And that's something that oftentimes gets overlooked in the male sphere. Men don't care about intelligence. No, intelligent men care about intelligence.
Yes.
Dumb men don't care because you're dumb.
Right.
And you have no idea how many women have deselected you because you've been stupid.
Deselected you.
Which is harsh, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Smart women cannot stand dumb men.
Yeah.
They'll use them because they're made to be used, but they're never going to respect them.
Yeah.
And the beast, I remember seeing that as a little kid. It always made such an impression on me. He takes her, I want to show you something. He shows her a library with books. So but now she has infinite imagination at her disposal, and she's in a magical world, and that's his world. And you can read all of them.
Yeah.
It's like he struck at the very thing that she idolized. Like he had it.
Brilliant. And then finally, dominant versus domineering. That jumped out at me. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know the difference. Explain that to our audience.
Yeah, so with healthy dominance, you are the person that's leading. You're the man that's leading. And you have the frame that way where she's with you, she trusts you, other men trust you, people trust your decisions and your actions. And you dominate not because you want to control people, but because people trust your sight, they trust your guidance, they trust how you move, they trust what you do, they trust your actions. So that's a healthy way to dominate. That's the man that leads. That's being courageous. That's being intelligent, wise. That requires a lot of qualities. So you want to be dominant. Being domineering is seeking to control other people, to their detriment because you're too deficient in the other areas to dominate and lead properly. And you see that in dysfunctional relationships with men, where the woman is not acting how they want. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make her. You can't make anyone do anything. Mm-hmm. The same way you can't make your employees like you. Everybody's had, let's say, a bad manager. I can't stand this person. They're so controlling. That never works. And we always recognize that as a weakness because if we really respected them, they wouldn't need to tell us what to do. Mm. And the domineering, sort of element, like I see that sometimes, like in the male sphere, where you have guys where they just have low, social IQs. I realize, and they've never been in that position where anybody really looked up to them or they led anything. And they want to be in control, these people. Like we all crave control, we all crave stability, but they don't know how to practice it. So it steers towards this domineering kind of conversation where, like, that's going to very much mislead you. And I've said on the speech as well. I've been training women for 10 years. I've had many female person trained clients. Women don't like domineering men because they can tell they don't pay attention, they don't respect them, and if they end up in that kind of relationship, well, they want to leave. They end up wanting to leave. We can talk about aberrant relationships where women will be with psychos. Like, yeah, men will be with psychos too, but we would never consider that healthy.
Right.
So how do you supersede all that? You want to dominate, but that starts with yourself. That starts with leading yourself, which that starts with sort of the tactical virtues. You embody those things, and then I said that as well. I keep quoting myself, but kind of by default, when you act like a man, capital M, the world responds accordingly, and you don't have to force things.
Yeah, I know. I like to say rather than saying, "Listen to me," or "Do what I tell you," a beautiful way of saying something like that would be "Follow my lead."
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Versus, and that's follow my lead is dominant. Listen to me, do what I say is domineering. Your example of choosing where to go on a date, what to do, what you're going to eat.
Being the planner.
Yeah. That's incredible. And as opposed to arguing for an hour.
Mm-hmm. That's always like I use that as a stereotypical example, but I always find it fascinating with a lot of men where men don't like to plan things, and that sometimes there is a balance there, like within, let's say, a relationship. Like, okay, my wife does planning, or my girlfriend, she loves to plan, and I let her do that. Which is fine. But in the process of let's say getting to know someone, or just sort of establishing relationship polarity, be the man with a plan, because that shows you have some imagination. Where are you going to take me to? I'm not going to tell you, but you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I want you to dress really nice.
Yeah.
I want wear this. We're going to be going this direction, and make sure you bring a jacket. And it's actually for 2 nights, so you should pack this and that. Oh wow. Or you could be the guy. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? That conversation goes just into a death spiral for 2 hours, and then you're just mad at each other.
Yeah.
But that it's stereotypical, but that's how a lot of men behave in their relationships, because they want something that's both easy, but they also want to be in charge. They also don't want to have to do anything, but they also want to be adored. It's all incoherent.
When I look at some of the accusations against men who think the way that we do, and I think you and I have similar thoughts, someone was breaking my chops once about, they quoted me saying, you need to buy her flowers and take her out dancing. And they were kind of mocking that. And I remember you said something like, I buy my girl flowers every week. Yeah.
Because I like to be romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this goes into the point of being irreplaceable and comparable. And I don't worry about a woman being unfaithful. I've never struggled with it. I've never questioned women's fidelity. Women love me, and they've always loved me, and I love them. And I enjoy being romantic for my own sake. I like being romantic just because I enjoy it.
Yes.
And the thing that's interesting is that the more you put into a woman that way, the more she generally just gives back to you. If you want someone to be really attached to you, give them a reason to be. That sort of idea of I don't know, the relationship where you don't actually do anything, but she's really attached, but somehow it's functional. It's a socially just impaired way of conceptualizing it. When we look at if you look at any kind of healthy romantic relationship, we're like, oh, these people really love each other. They're really into each other, and that's pretty obvious. I think for a lot of men, unfortunately, who have either attachment disorders or have never had a functional relationship, or maybe their romanticism got betrayed because the woman they were with took advantage of them. Yeah, I can understand the fear. I can get that, but that's also due to your own respective blindness.
Yeah.
The number of things I've had women do for me that are romantic are endless. I can just rattle things out, from trips and planning and dinners and moments. And I got this for you. It's tons of stuff. I'm like, oh, women aren't romantic. Oh, women are highly romantic, but for a man, they want to be romantic with.
Yes.
You're just not that kind of man.
Right. That's brilliant. Well, I can't wait for this to become a book, and as soon as it goes into pre-sale mode. I hope to be the first one to sign up for it. And I had a front row seat while you were developing this. It's magnificent. The Ascended Man. Is that what you're calling it, you think, maybe?
The Ascended Man? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's a good working title for right now, anyways. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is so many people that are thought leaders aren't men of action. They're just thinking about it. So when I hear the phrase thought leader, I'm like, yeah, well, take it from your brain to, you're practicing this with the woman in your life.
I am this. That's a big difference.
Yeah, as opposed to this theory. Absolutely.
Like we all have thoughts. That's right. Like I've had that running joke for people, for even the fitness industry, when people talk about. I'm like, yeah, we all think things, don't we? I'm like, relative to like the world of the body, I'm like, you're either strong or you're not. You're either a man or you're not. And you can see people very readily if you put them in the proper environment. Like, okay, are they really upholding what they espouse, or are they just someone who thinks things but is actually defective in their being? That becomes very obvious really fast. Like my message has always been pretty straightforward on the fundamental level that I always encourage men, like you want to be the best version of yourself, align yourself with truth and be able to see things clearly, and then act accordingly. And the probabilities of your life will play out respective to your principles. If you mislead yourself, so you do. You can course correct, but you don't want to get caught in the spiral of just sort of speaking, and there's nothing to show for it.
Yeah, you are, the phrase, think outside the box. You are thinking outside the echo chamber, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the walls are confining that way. Even when I was in, quote-unquote fitness, I never liked the idea of orthodoxy or like, the beliefs or like anything that's sort of like accepted, like, oh, everybody knows this is the way. I'm like, no, it's not. There's always more.
Yeah.
There's always different ways to see things. You have to take sort of that meta view of everything, and hopefully you develop something that's holistic, and principle-based. That's very much from like the ground up. That's why I said that as well. Like, the map is not the territory. It's very easy to read things and it's like, oh, this is all that exists. I'm like, no, that gives you directive for how things can operate. But life is not mechanistic at all. And people are very infinite in how they can behave.
Well, I am looking forward to watching this develop. And like I said, I feel like I had a front row seat watching this right from chapter 1.
Cool.
And it's pretty exciting. Being irreplaceable, incomparable, and infinite. A conversation with Alexander Cortes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, George.
Absolutely.